40 ounces of steel. A curved handle on one side, a straw poking out of the lid. It sits on a kitchen counter beside 11 others exactly like it, each one a different color. You paid around $45 for a single one. People have lined up outside stores before sunrise to buy them. Some colors sold out in minutes, then reappeared online at 3 or 4 times the price. It's a cup. Keeps your water cold. That is the entire job it does. So why did a company that has made the same object, barely changed, for more than 100 years suddenly explode into one of the most fought-over products in the country? Here is the part nobody tells you. This exact cup almost got discontinued. It sat on shelves for years and nearly nobody bought it. The cup never changed. So what did? Because Stanley didn't win by building a better cup. It won by quietly ceasing to be a cup company at all. And you never saw the switch happen. Go back to 1913. A man named William Stanley Jr. patents the all-steel vacuum bottle. The idea is simple and a little strange. Seal a pocket of nothing, empty space, between 2 steel walls, and heat can't cross it. That gap of nothing is the whole invention. Keeps hot things hot and cold things cold for hours, with no power and no moving parts. For the next century, that is exactly what Stanley was. A rugged, unbreakable, deeply unglamorous thermos. Hammer-tone green. The thing your grandfather kept his coffee in. It rode in lunchboxes, truck beds, and tackle boxes. It got dropped, dented, and passed down. It was built for men who worked outdoors and did not care in the slightest what it looked like. It was reliable. It was respected. And it was boring. By the 2010s, the brand was quietly fading, a tough old name that fewer and fewer people had a reason to think about. Then, in 2016, Stanley released something that didn't fit the rest of the lineup. A tall, tapered tumbler with a handle and a wide straw, sized to slide into a car cup holder. They called it the Quencher. And when it launched, it did almost nothing. Sales were weak. The marketing barely acknowledged it existed. By most accounts, the Quencher was close to being canceled outright. The product that would soon generate hundreds of millions of dollars was, in that moment, treated as a mistake. So how does a dying product become the single most wanted cup in America? The answer is the strange part. It did not happen inside Stanley's offices. It happened to Stanley from the outside, almost by accident. Enter a blog. 3 women ran a website called The Buy Guide, where they recommended products they personally used and loved. And they were fixated on the Quencher. Not because anyone paid them, there was no campaign, but because the thing genuinely worked and fit the shape of their day. They wrote about it again and again. Their audience, mostly women, started buying it. Here is where the story turns. The women approached Stanley and proposed a partnership. And Stanley, by most accounts, wasn't interested. The people in charge still saw a men's outdoor brand. They could not see the customer standing directly in front of them, waving money. So the women did something companies rarely allow. They bought Stanley cups at wholesale, meaning at bulk cost, the price a store pays rather than the price you pay, and sold the cups themselves directly to their audience. They sold out almost immediately. They restocked and did it again. Sold out again. The demand was impossible to argue with, and it was pouring in from a customer Stanley had ignored for 100 years. And that is the precise moment the right person walked through the door. His name is Terence Reilly. And just before Stanley, he had finished pulling off almost this exact trick somewhere else. He was a driving force behind the comeback of Crocs, the foam clogs the entire internet used to mock, reviving them from a joke into a billion-dollar obsession. He arrived carrying a very specific playbook, and he aimed all of it at a 100-year-old thermos. Watch closely what he actually changes. It is almost never the cup itself. First, color. The Quencher stopped being one sensible tumbler and became dozens of colors and finishes, released in small batches. Second, and this is the real engine, scarcity. Stanley deliberately made fewer of certain colors than people wanted. That is manufactured scarcity, holding supply below demand on purpose, so that wanting the thing turns into a fear of missing it. If it might be gone tomorrow, you buy it right now. You stop weighing the price. You just grab. They called these limited releases drops, lifting the word straight from sneaker culture. special seasonal colors, store-exclusive shades, collaborations that existed for only a few days. Each release sold out, and every sellout became proof that the next one was worth chasing. The scarcity wasn't a side effect. It was the product. Then they placed cups in the hands of the right people online, creators whose audiences were, again, mostly women, and let ordinary envy finish the job. The brand that once belonged to fishermen and welders now lived on the phones of millions of women who didn't own one Stanley. They owned 6 in 6 colors and wanted the 7th. The numbers move like something snapping. By most accounts, Stanley's revenue was somewhere around $70 million in 2019. Reportedly, by 2023, it had climbed toward $750 million. Same company, same basic cup. Something close to a tenfold jump in only a few years, powered not by a new invention, but by a new story told to a brand new customer. Then, late in 2023, came the kind of moment no marketing budget can buy. A woman posted a video of her car after a fire. The interior was a blackened shell, and sitting in the cup holder was her Stanley, still upright, reportedly still holding ice. The clip spread everywhere. Stanley's own leadership answered publicly and offered to replace her car. Free, unscripted, almost unbelievable advertising. The legend basically wrote itself overnight. By early 2024, a Stanley wasn't a cup you used. It was an identity you carried, refilled, photographed, and displayed. But every spell eventually gets tested. In January 2024, alarms spread online that Stanley cups contained lead. It was true with an important catch. The lead sits sealed inside the material at the very base, used to close that same century-old vacuum pocket. It is not in your water, and not exposed unless the bottom cap comes off entirely. Stanley confirmed the sealing process uses some lead. The worry flared hot, and then, remarkably, it mostly burned out. The obsession was simply stronger than the fear, which tells you exactly how deep this brand had sunk its hooks. So look back at the counter. 11 cups, 11 colors. The object in your hand is, mechanically, the same seal their thermos William Stanley patented over 100 years ago. The steel got no smarter. The empty gap didn't improve. What changed was who the cup was for, and the feeling stitched on to owning the next one. You were never sold a better cup. You were sold the quiet fear of missing the next color. And you feel that same pull every single time a brand whispers that something is almost gone. The cup was never the product. You were.